Another away fixture for the Potters, as this time they travel down south to take on Luton, sat in 18th spot with Rob Edwards maybe on the way out of the club. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few weeks for the Hatters, but with that, both teams and both head coaches will definitely want to win on the board on Tuesday night. So with that, let's get straight into previewing Stoke's game against Luton. So, starting off with Stoke under Narcis Pelach. Now, we will talk more in depth about him in a future video, but it's been 15 games, 3 wins for him, 6 draws, and 6 losses as well. It's so tough to comment on it, if I'm being totally honest. It was an early managerial change that Stoke had, and it's one where, look, he's had players that maybe haven't turned up as much as he would have liked. So is it more on the players right now, or is it more on the head coach? Obviously, you look at Stoke's fixtures or recent results that they've had. In them draws where we had a good month in November, 1 loss, the 2 wins, 3 draws, and then that loss against Burnley on the last day of the November fixtures. It's one of them where it's kind of changed the look of how you look at November. I think obviously the 3 draws coming midway through November, followed then by the Burnley loss and then the Sunderland loss, that then kind of just, it changes the feel about the points. It's less of, oh, that's a point, a solid point that we've managed to get. It's then more of a, well, we should have won it, or its points dropped. It really is. So I do think that focusing on them draws in terms of how they happened, you've got QPR one where John Ho's goal gets disallowed for handball. That one, it's just tough. It's a tough one because away from home against QPR, who before we haven't really done well against, or even in London, we're not really best at getting a point or 3 points away down south. So I do think in that one, it's one where you can't rely on refereeing decision, but we have kind of been robbed of the 3 points. But you look at then the Millwall one as well at home, Valterberger, the penalty that should have been another decision that doesn't go our way. Yes, you can say, well, that gets given and we score the penalty. That's 6 points out of them 2 games instead of getting the 2 that we did. That then turns it right round. So I do think that you can't then rely on refereeing decisions. And in terms of how Stoke have been and what they've offered, and in terms of how the performances as a whole have been, I think it's tough to say. I do think it's one where you look at XG, and now XG is that kind of expected goal, the new thing that's kind of spoken about a lot more now, the kind of quality of a chance that's kind of presumed or predicted based on where it is and how that's kind of dictated and put together. Stoke's XG hasn't really been the best. Now you look at XG conceded and that heavy reliance on Victor Johansson. I think it's interesting that we are second in terms of XG conceded and in terms of how many kind of shots compared to the shots that we're facing and all that lot. Plymouth are the only team ahead of us, and obviously this is a Plymouth side that aren't having the best of times right now under Wayne Rooney. The same with Stoke in terms of the shots we're allowing them to have and the expected goals that we should have against. That compared to Stoke's XG in terms of Stoke's own expected goals, we're then low down, and it's one of them where performance-wise we've got to be creating more, got to be more aggressive and taking chances and actually creating them, but also being solid at the back. And it's one where right now you're still seeing them foundations being built under Narcis Pelach, and is it one where it's tough because you don't want to say, oh, it's on the players, but has he then been given his January transfer window to bring in the players? Will we then see the difference? Is it that right now the style that he wants or what he wants out of his players he's struggling to get? I'm not too sure, but it is one of them where we have got a lot of quality in our side. You've got that mix of experience and the talent there, and then you look at the average age of the squad, there's a lot of quality there. Is it still, we're just building them foundations, and because the results haven't gone our way, it then feels like it's just not going too well. But I think against Luton today, it is going to be one where both teams don't have loads of confidence. Luton obviously come down from the drop, one of them where they are looking to get points, and of course will want to get a win, especially at home. If Stoke can get a great away win, that could really turn this season on its head. So I do think, looking at it, and in terms of Stoke's team, in terms of under Narcis Pelach, and we will talk more about it, who's been the standouts? You look at the likes of Victor Johansson. Now there has been quite a reliance on him. That Blackburn game where he pulled out them top saves, he's definitely up there. the best keeper in terms of in the Championship. He's been superb. He's a fantastic shot stopper, and it could be the same against Luton. He definitely, for me, has been the player of this season. Then other players under Narcis Pelach, in terms of the style that he wants, I'd look at Tom Cannon, the play that he has and how he's brought to the table. I mean, how many times have we had a striker that's actually going to score goals and knows where the back of the net is? And yes, albeit from penalty spot, but a player that's actually confident, and hopefully over this festive period we can get the best out of him. But in all fairness, he has lacked a little bit of service, if I'm being totally honest. Now, another player I want to talk about, Tatsuki Seko. Now, he's been eased into the side and he's coming in, and you know what, he's a permanent figure in that midfield. He really is a great player. I think we can see more of him. You'd say Seko is definitely one of them that will definitely be in the side. So with that, I do think that we will see more, and hopefully it's one win that can turn the table, and hopefully that happens tomorrow. So with that, let's start predicting Stoke's starting 11 against Luton. Now, predicting Stoke's starting 11 against Luton, it's one where how many changes do you think Narcis Pelach will make, and also which formation will we go for? Of course, Luton play a 3-5-2. Will we look to play a 3 or a 5 at the back as well to accommodate their two strikers, or will we go for the 4-2-3-1 or in a way 4-4-2 that we play that are out of possession? So with that, I do think there will be changes, and I do think it's quite difficult to name the side, because you don't want to keep saying, oh, bring him in, he's going to work well, or he isn't. I think it's one where you just need a little bit of consistency. And I think obviously coming off the back of two losses, especially the way the Sunderland game went, is one where I reckon there will be changes. So obviously Victor Johansson in between the sticks. We know what he brings to the table. He's fantastic. It will be a game where I think Luton may have chances. I think Stoke will as well. I think it could be quite end-to-end. Maybe either side don't really take a hold of the game. But it is relying on the two keepers that, you know what, have been standouts for either side. This could be one where hopefully we get a battling win where Johansson probably is going to be our man of the match, but hopefully we go up the other end of the pitch and we get a nice goal, and hopefully it's a scrappy win, but it's valuable. It's a valuable win and a valuable 3 points as well. So Victor Johansson in between the sticks. Now Gibson, not sure if he's available or not. They said about him being ill, which is why he wasn't involved in the game against Sunderland. He could be back in contention, so he could come in, but I'm not 100% if they maybe will just save him, make sure he's 100% ready for the Cardiff game on Saturday. So I'll go for Rose and Phillips as your two centre-halves. Either side of him, it's tough. I think Stevens, in the press conference, Narcis Pelach did say that left-back-wise, Stevens is fit, so I think he'll come in. I think he'll come in to replace Bocat. And I think Bocat could have maybe this is a game for Bocat where he'll have the space, but I think having Stevens and then Shamadou on the right-hand side could work quite nicely. Of course, Stevens offers you that experience and defensive cover, but could also get up the pitch, and maybe having that link-up with Jun Ho on the left could be what works well in this one. So I already mentioned Jun Ho on the left. I'll then go back to the midfield in that double pivot. Seko, for me, obviously gets in the team. I think we'll see more of him, I really do, and maybe this is a game where it is about the midfield. You look at how Luton set up that three in the midfield, and they've got the likes. Oh, I always keep calling him Luke Berry. It's not Luke Berry. It's Jordan Clark, that's the one. Jordan Clark, he's a key player for them. Maybe it's the battle of Seko and Jordan Clark in this one. So I'll put Seko in there. Now I'm going to put Berger in there as well. Of course, was dropped against Sunderland, but I think, you know what, having a bit of height in this one could help. And I think we all know what Berger brings to the table. He's a good player, just maybe hasn't hit the heights this season. And hopefully being dropped against Sunderland will get him fighting and wanting to show what he's made of in this midfield. So them two in the double pivot. I'll then put Andrew Moran ahead of him. So with obviously Jun Ho on the left of him. I do think that Moran obviously offers you that in terms of a high press and what Narcis Pelach has mentioned, that high press. Moran offers you that alongside Tom Cannon and building up there, but also dropping deep, getting on the ball, moving the play and cutting through the lines and playing through the lines, that could be what we need in this one. So I think Moran could be the one suitable for this one. On the right, it's tough because obviously we have Manhoef playing in the midfield, in the more kind of, well, not midfield, but the more advanced player, but also dropping deep to come on the ball, and had a lovely assist for Kumas in that game against Sunderland. But I do also think we need to see more from them players, your key players, and it's tough to say that because we know what they bring to the table. It's so hard to just go, well, you need to see more, because you can't consistently bring that quality week in and week out, but you need to see more, and I think attacking wise we do need more from our attacking players. So I do think I'm going to put Kumas on the right. That's an interesting one. I think, you know what, Manu off the bench could work a lot better, and I think having him, not dropping him, I don't think it's a case of that. I think it's just rotating it a little bit, and let's start Kumas and see how he does, and go from there. I think it is one where let's put Kumas in there and have him on the right. Maybe him having the freedom and having that space on the right with Jun Ho as well. There's going to be gaps in this game with 3 at the back for Luton. There's going to be gaps for Jun Ho to move the ball, and I do think that if he's able to take on a man and stretch the play, Kumas working hard as well as Jun Ho could be the one, and especially in that high press, Kumas works his socks off, and I think just give him that little bit of game time and having the option of Manuf off the bench could be the difference maker. And then of course leading the line would be of course Tom Cannon. Hopefully he can get on the score sheet, and maybe it's a 1-0 game where it's just a penalty where we know Tom Cannon can convert it. So in terms of who else could be in the side, it'll be interesting to see Lyndon Gooch, where he normally plays under Narcis Pelach. Of course, hasn't started just yet. He could come in at full back, and it'll be interesting to see if he does. Likewise, we've already seen him at the start of this season playing a more advanced role on the wing or in the midfield, which was very interesting under Stephen Schumacher. So it'll be interesting to see where he plays. You've got the likes of Jordan Thompson or Sol Sadibi that could come into that midfield as well if we wanted to change that up. Sam Gallagher and Boston Lawal, I don't think they'll be in contention, but they'll be coming into the side soon. So this squad will start building up. I just think you need to get that one win on the bounce, and hopefully it just turns it on its head. So that's a side I am going to predict for this one. It'll be interesting, and of course a 4-2-3-1 against a 3-5-2. There'll be space in behind, and in either side hopefully we have that joy, and maybe on the width in terms of having fullbacks and attackers, and in the attackers like Kumas and Jun Ho, having that freedom, hopefully that works well for us. So that's the team I'm going to go for. Let's head straight into previewing the game against Luton. Now, looking at this Luton side, there is an opposition focus coming out where we've got a Luton fan talking about how they're doing, but you look at the table, it's like for like with Stoke as well. They're not really having the best time, and I looked at their game against Swansea where Kaminski, their goalkeeper, was their man of the match. We're seeing that a lot as well with Stoke, that Johansson is our man of the match in the draws that we're having. It's all about Johansson, and you know what, it's been a fantastic signing that the club made, bringing him in, a permanent keeper, and he's been superb and is the top goalkeeper in this league. So I do think with Luton, it's one where I will talk about it in the video tomorrow about Rob Edwards and if he thinks that he should go. For me, I think Rob Edwards is a real good manager, a real solid, get me words out, solid manager that, you know what, could go elsewhere and work his magic. I do think maybe a switch up at Luton is the right one, and especially in the Championship. It's just ruthless. It's so ruthless. You go on a run of games where it's just bad, and all of a sudden the tables turn and it is tough to come out of it. But you know what, all of a sudden this game could be the difference maker for Luton in this one, where they get a good win at home with the crowd, and you know what, it gets everyone back behind them. But at the moment it has gone a little bit toxic at Luton, and hopefully Stoke can take that. But I do think that this game could have similarities to the Sunderland one, and the reason I say that is I think you saw in that Sunderland side lack of confidence. They're not a team that are in massive form, and then a team that are attacking fantastically, but which is obviously what we saw in that game, where they didn't really constantly go at Stoke. Yes, they had loads of shots and had the better of the chances, but weren't a real confident side. And of course I've lost players like Romain Mundle. I do think that Watson for Sunderland is a fantastic player, and you know what, he deserved man of the match, and you know what, it's good to see he got his goals, but albeit against Stoke. But I do think the similarities in terms of in this one, where it's two sides that aren't really in the best of form, aren't having loads of confidence, but are waiting for a game that they can make it the difference maker and make the tables turn. And you know what, this could be the one, it really could. So I do think that 3-5-2 for Luton. They've got key players. They've got Carlton Morris is on Sky Sports. Carlton Morris and Elijah Adebayo as the two kind of strikers. And having two strikers, could that be will that dictate Narcis Pelach saying, well, do we play 5 at the back and have Rose, Phillips and Wilmot? I'm not too sure, but I do think that they've got a good they've got a good squad. There's a reason why they're in the Premier League, and I think they've come back and obviously not gone the way that they expected under Rob Edwards, but they've got the likes of Jordan Clark who can dictate the midfield, and I think it's one where Stoke need to win their battles more. I think that the individual battles needs to be won a little bit more, and I think aggressively and how we go about this game, I don't think it needs to be the most beautiful. I think it is more a case of who's going to want it more and is going to deserve that win. So we'll talk more about Luton in the tomorrow's opposition focus, so we can get a little bit more in depth about how they're doing and what actually they think is going wrong at the club, and if Rob Edwards should kind of leave, just to kind of keep that good nature of what he had at Luton and what he built there, so that he doesn't kind of go through the dirt and maybe Luton fans turn against him, which wouldn't be nice, seeing as he got him back in the Premier, well, not back in the Premier, got them to the Premier League. So with that, I think it'll be a good game against Luton, but will it be one that's the most entertaining for a neutral? I'm not too sure. We'll have to see. But until then, we'll have to see what happens. It's much needed that Stoke need that 3 points going up against Cardiff as well. If we can get a 3 points today and then against the Bluebirds, it'd be a lovely week and a lovely start to a very busy festive period. So with that, I'll see you guys next time.